Hello and welcome to PCMag Live. I'm Dan Costa, he is Max Eddy, and Sasha is sleeping off CES. It has been a very, very long week filled with news and information. We've got a lot of it on PCMag.com, but let's talk about today, the big story of the day. We have our best of CES winners.
It was a real big show this year. What was your best thing?
We've got, I thought the most impressive thing, and this sounds cliche, you go to CES, you talk about TVs, Vizio's 120-inch reference series HD TV, it's UHD, for $36,000. I just think that Vizio's stepping up and taking the technological leadership in this space. It was the biggest TV at CES. It was probably the most technologically advanced TV at CES. You know, we haven't done side-by-side image comparisons, and all these TVs look phenomenal.
Right.
But just Vizio stepping up and coming out at the high end and saying, look, we're going to build the best TV possible. I think that was amazing.
But that's not with 3D or anything, right?
That was the other part of it, is that Vizio said not only are they going to build the best TV possible, they are not going to build 3D TVs anymore. 3D, we've been not kind to 3D technologies here at PCMag, and neither have consumers. There's been no consumer demand for it, and Vizio's just saying, you know what, I don't think this is the direction we need to go in. Let's focus on image quality. I think other vendors are going to do the same.
So giant televisions, was there anything else that really caught your eye?
I got my hands on, Sasha actually got into town late, so I got to take his meetings and get the advanced hands-on with the Galaxy Note Pro, which is Samsung's latest 12.2-inch iPad, you know, basically productivity class tablet. And that was pretty cool. It's got a great screen, very high resolution, and they've done something neat, which is build this magazine UX, which is basically a skin on top of Android. Think of it as like part Flipboard, part Windows 8, but working better than either one of them. And very customizable, so you can build your own home screens and build your own widgets. It's one of the best, it's quite possibly the best tablet interface I've seen. So I'm really looking forward to getting that in for testing, seeing if Sasha likes it as much as I do.
Absolutely. Well, there's going to be a lot more on that on our Best of CES story, which is going to be up on the site pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, it should be up on the site right now.
All right.
And there's a lot more stuff other than just TVs and tablets. Some weird stuff, some cool stuff. Definitely check it out.
All right. Well, the other big thing that came up was more Target breaches. Have you heard anything about this?
Yeah, this happens with every major security breach. They come out, there's a major breach. Before the holidays, the Target released these numbers that 40 million people had their personal information leaked. And it happened just because they were just customers at Target.
Right.
Anybody that bought something at Target over this window had their information leaked.
And that's what's really scary about this new revelation, because now they're saying, oh, maybe it's up to 70 million people, and maybe some of those overlap, so it could actually be more than 70 million people. And wait, it gets worse. So those original 40 million people, they had their payment information accessed. This additional batch, they think they might have had their email address, home address, phone number, that kind of thing. Now, that might not sound as bad as, you know, like payment information, but this is the kind of stuff that could lead to like phishing or identity theft after the fact. It's a really big deal, and I think even though this might be the end of the numbers part of this, we're going to be hearing about people being affected by this hack for a long time to come.
There haven't been a lot of reports of actual fraud based on this attack, and I think part of the reason maybe there's just so much information to go through that whoever stole it is going to have trouble parsing it all and putting together these attacks and these vectors.
I certainly hope so, but I think it's actually more likely that there's so much information out there and so many different ways to attack people with this information that it's hard to say where the attacks are coming from. Yeah. And the really scary part was on Recode today. They said that a company official disclosed that this wasn't just it could be any person who shopped at Target in the US this year, not just over the holiday season. So you should, at home, definitely keep an eye on your credit card and debit card receipts. You want to make sure you're not getting any phishing messages or spam, and all of that stuff could be tied up in this information. In the future, use your credit card because it's easier to stop those payments than a debit card. I think you have a favorite personal security service that you use.
For identity theft protection?
Yeah, for identity theft protection.
Yeah, there's a couple. I use Reputation.com for managing my reputation, and that has some fraud alerts that can go up. And I forget the name of the identity theft protection service.
We will give them a lot of lip service in another PCMag Live episode, but
it's been a very long week.
I'm going to say one more thing. There are some banks that will offer you the ability to create a fake account number that you can use for online payments. There's another service called Abean's Masked Card service that will do this too, so you don't pay with your actual credit card number, and that's another layer of protection. But yeah, it's a rough world out there, so stay safe.
Yeah, indeed. Also in the news today, the Pocket drone. There were a lot of drones at CES.
So many drones.
And and I come back and we check our feeds, and what's the big story of the day? The Pocket drone, yet another drone that's coming to the market. This is a Kickstarter project that made its goal very quickly, and it looks pretty cool.
It didn't just make its goal, it made $93,000 of a $35,000 goal, and that's a pretty modest goal for Kickstarter. And what they're trying to do is bring a sub $500 microcopter out. And the nice thing about this is it's got 3 rotors, but it folds up to smaller than a 7-inch tablet, so you just throw it in your bag and take it with you. One of the developers says, you don't need a separate bag for your drone anymore, which is a whole mindset I can't even relate to. But it's interesting now that this kind of high technology is going to be cheaper and cheaper.
And the cool thing about it is that it's strong enough to actually support a full-size camera, like a GoPro, an HD camera. So, and that'll open up a lot of opportunities and a lot of new things for drone technology. My question is, where's the line between a drone and just a microcopter that you fly around the office? Like, how high does it have to go before it officially becomes a drone?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I feel that we've been throwing around the word drone a lot lately because it's cooler and sexier than RC helicopter.
Right.
So, my opinion right now is, like, if it doesn't have Hellfire on it, it's not really a drone. But that's not true because that rules out the Predator and things like that.
Gas-powered.
So, I think the big difference here is that it needs to be at least semi-autonomous to really be a drone. And I'm just going to say that right now. I can, change my opinion later. And this one actually is. It can follow GPS waypoints. It can follow you. But again, it's a hobbyist sort of thing. Like, what is the purpose for this outside of just, wanting to shoot some really cool home videos?
Yeah, you know what? We're geeks. We build it, and then we figure out what it's for.
Amen.
That's the way it works. Now it's time for a reader question. We got this question from Blake, who no doubt has been seeing all of our CES coverage, and he wanted to know, why are people still going to CES when all this information gets leaked on the web, gets presented on the web? Why do you actually have to go to a show with 150,000 people and get the information from there?
Well, I slept the whole time you were at CES, so I think you're probably more qualified to answer this than I am.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing thing. First of all, it's kind of a zoo. It's very hard to see what's going on. I know I spent 5 days there. I need to come back here and figure out what exactly happened, just because you can't see everything. But I still like the trade show format. I like the cross-pollination that takes place. I saw, Sony's going to be building a tennis racket that has a sensor built onto the end, and that's the kind of weird stuff you only see on a trade show floor. Samsung has partnered with Trek to build a bike that has a dock and tracks all your information and works with their Galaxy Note and tablets and phones. And it's just it's like those types of things that only happen at trade shows.
Yeah, and there certainly seems to be, tying back to my Comic-Con experience here, people are more willing to say interesting things in person than they do in press releases.
That's true.
I think as long as we're willing to keep writing about it, they'll keep coming to these kind of trade shows.
Indeed, and actually we got a ton of CEO interviews. Sasha Segan was doing basically nothing but CEO interviews, and when you get them on camera and they're in a casual environment, they say things that sometimes they would never put through a press release and would never make it through legal. So check out those videos on our YouTube channel. I think it's that time.
It's time for one cool thing, everybody.
One cool thing. We test thousands of products here in the lab every year, and every day we take one thing off the shelf and show it to you live. Today, that thing is the Xperia.
The Xperia Z1S.
Z1S.
This is the US version of the Xperia Z1, I believe. It comes with a 20.7 megapixel camera, a waterproof coating, an improved battery, a fast Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 processor weighing
you sound like you're reading your notes.
I think I might be. 5.71 ounces, which is slightly heavier than the original Z or Z1. And what I think is interesting about this one is that it actually doesn't seem that different from its predecessor. It looks pretty much the same.
This one's fully waterproof.
Fully waterproof.
So you can drop it all the way in the water. The other one was just like water resistant.
Okay.
So that's a good upgrade. That's a good fix. But every phone should be waterproof.
It really should. But if you wanted to show off to everyone that I've got the newest phone, you hold this up, they're going to think you have last year's phone. I think that could be a problem for them.
I mean, it's a good-looking phone.
It is a good-looking phone.
It's a slab. I mean, they're all slabs at this point. It lacks that sort of iPhone 5 customization slickness.
And one of the interesting things about this is that it runs Android 4.3. It'll be getting KitKat soon. But Sasha Segan wrote about how it has these really interesting sub-apps. Like you fire up the camera, and there's a lot of interesting ways to adjust the camera settings and all sorts of things like that. But there wasn't a PlayStation 4 tie-in, which is a little bit disappointing. I don't think we've seen that from either Windows or from Sony.
No, we haven't quite gotten to. I mean, Kaz Hirai wants to create this one Sony concept. This would be a great opportunity to sort of show that off and leverage those two brands and get the PlayStation. Certainly, the PlayStation's doing phenomenally well. Try and draft off that. but it's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
It's too bad.
Well, we're going to have a review forthcoming on, when's that review
We'll
coming
have a
out?
review up on Monday.
On Monday.
On Monday.
So we'll have a lot of interesting questions answered, and I think that's going to be it for our show today.
Indeed. For more on all these stories, go to PCMag.com. Our CES coverage is still coming. We're still doing wrap-ups, analyses. There's a lot of neat stuff on there, so check that out, PCMag.com/CES. That'll be PCMag Live for today. Come back on Monday. We'll have a brand new show.
See ya.